Welcome to Djuma Game Reserve this morning. Good morning to you all. Good evening. Good afternoon. Wherever you may be on the planet today. Welcome to the Kruger National Park, the Greater Kruger National Park. My name is Mark. Jason is with me on camera. Lex is letting us from final control. We're hoping to not have to go under shelter later. There is a little bit of a drizzle from time to time. At the moment it's perfect. The birds singing, good indication that it might lift. Excuse me. Beautiful morning. It's very still, it's very crisp, it's very clear. And I hope you're with us for a couple of hours as we wander around this very special part of the Sabi Sand Game Reserve, part of the Greater Kruger National Park. And the little patch of the Sabi Sand is known as Djuma Game Reserve. To most of that is wonderful wildlife. When I say most, there are some things further up in Africa that don't occur here. Those hyena walk down this amazing. It's very tough. There's some way to get that more vertical. That the little thin one. Bend it up. Yeah, it is bent. That joins the just above your fingers. No, just above your fingers. Just checking antenna, sorry. Without that antenna we don't get through to you. So as I was saying, there's pretty heavy rain. Heavy rain like this is a wonderful thing because it wipes the slate clean. The tracks in the road will all be, not always, but they'll all be very fresh. They'll all be very distinct because they'll only really show up in some of the softer mud. Tends to, kind of rain like this tends to compact the ground, and in some places it makes it it's like a clay, so the prints will be set there for quite some time. But the roads and any patches of soft sand anywhere that we might find prints become our daily newspapers. It becomes our daily news. It tells us what's the dams that we have been doing on these very, very hot days that we've had recently. One of which seems to be eating a fish. It'd be nice if this burns open a little bit today and some of it starts drying up. I think at the moment, with a very warm day yesterday and then the storm suddenly coming in out of the blue. Well, not really out of the blue, it's been building up. This cold front that we're sitting under right now has been building up for a few days now. We've seen how the sky has been changing. Ants have been building mounds. A bunch of things that have indicated the approach of the cold front that is now well and truly set in. Morning, Dove. Let's see. Uh-huh. I wonder where those cats went from 2 nights ago. It would be nice to see if we can find their tracks. Scott said he didn't see anything yesterday, but then I think you were in a different area, and then I think, look at this redback shrike. Yeah, I'm better on the left though, because the branch bends to the right. And then, yeah, like that's there. This is the male redback shrike, summer visitor from further north. Not a very big shrike, it's one of the smaller shrikes. Pretty little thing. Often sitting in a prominent perch somewhere, whether it's a tree or a termite mound, they swoop down on insects from a perch. They don't hunt much on the wing, as do most shrikes. As they hunt to the way most shrikes do. Striking from a perch, and off he goes. A little bit lighter in the south, so this bodes well for the rest of the day. For the rest of the day. Things are just cutting out quite a lot back in FC, so unfortunately, there's a brand new baby. She must have just had this. Put my ears to the radio, or the captain's after that, get a better idea of something squeaking. I'm sorry if it's... Okay, I didn't copy a word of that because it's cutting out so badly. Okay, definitely cutting out quite a bit. I'm wondering if it's because we're on a bumpy road. We're right on the edge of quarantine open area, so I can't imagine why it would be doing this. Still with some of these little bee eaters, there's 3 or 4 of them, and in this kind of weather sometimes they sit very... and off it goes. There 3, 4, there are at least 4 of them. Oh, they fly. Can you see them above my head? Are they? They're just ahead of us, just a little bit. 2, actually there are 5 of them. It must be mom and dad and 3 youngsters. I suppose by now they think we want to catch them or something, because they're not letting us get anywhere near them. Okay, another day. Another time. Morning, Peggy. Peggy sent an email. Peggy wants to know if Karulu is likely to move her cubs if they're lying in the area. Probably not, Peggy. It's a little bit difficult question because it relates to the behavior of an individual, and depending on circumstances the answer might be yes and the answer might be no. But if I have to think about it, I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think she would expose her and her cub scent to a pride of lions. I think if she had a den in the area and they were around, if anything, she'd somehow try to make sure that there was as least possibility of the lion picking up their scent and trying to find them. Of course, the wonderful thing about leopard and being a leopard cub is that they are pretty agile from a very young age in terms of their ability to climb, or their arboreal antics, I want to have a better phrase. So they could always escape up a tree, and the leopard cubs, when threatened, will go quite high into some of the very thin branches that are just impossible for lion to get to. Look, lion do climb trees, make no mistake. Some of them are not very good at it. Hyena tracks. Some of them are not very good at it. Sometimes they're just too heavy. Lion like to climb trees that have a little bit of a slope, that might have, like cheetah, they'll climb for vantage points or to play, but vertical trees become a bit of a challenge, not so much going up, but certainly coming down. Although, having said that, there are a number of places where there are lion that like to spend time in trees. I've known several prides of lion that are frequently found in trees. But they would never get as high as leopard and their cubs could get, so I think that's one of the saving graces. Of course, leopard has to have early warning, has to have at least enough time to try and get into a tree. That would be the important part of it. But moving the cubs, that, I would say that's likely to pose a danger to the cubs, especially if other cats are fairly close, because you might get other animals and the alarm calls of other animals might alert the lion to presence of leopard. What are you nervous about, boys? Just their head movements, and if you look at their ears, how those ears are swiveling around. These are two impala rams that are not very comfortable. They've sensed something. Their tails are very, very still. It's only when the tails start moving that they start relaxing. So they are alerted by something. Bigger one on the right, smaller one on the left. Slight difference in age. And now you have a push me pull you. I think the older ram's getting the younger ram to move around so that you go and be bait, little boy. Tails are starting to wag now. That's body language for move along and everything's fine, nothing to worry about. They might have picked up an alarm call from a bird or something that made them hesitate a little bit, but now I think they seem to be okay. Running into the drainage line. Still not relaxed enough to feed. They're not even chewing or chewing the cud. Well, this is where you saw Djuma yesterday, I believe. So I'm sure there's possibly still some lingering scent of his. Even though there's been rain, there will still be this. In case you were wondering what that roaring be a little irritating sometimes. Morning, Mary Jane. Mary Jane in Florida is a true, you can't look a big cat in the eye. No, that's not true, Mary Jane. You can look the big cat in the eye. I think the one animal that you just don't look at is a big male silverback gorilla. But then I'm no expert on gorillas. But I've looked at cats. Mary Jane saying that domestic cats don't seem to mind. Mary Jane, they do. It depends on how you're looking at them. But I mean, staring at a cat open-eyed is kind of a challenge, or it can portray fear. But it is not an accepting, for the cat I mean, it's not an accepting thing. The one thing about domestic cats, very much like domestic dogs, is that in order to get along with us humans, they have to adopt a lot of our... Sorry, thrown off track there a little bit. Domestic animals tend to pick up on a lot of our body language in order to be able to communicate with us better. The conflict that must go on in a dog's mind when the dog learns to smile, because we as humans, smiling for us is a pleasure thing, it is an acceptance thing, it's a lot of positive emotion in a smile, whereas for a dog the grimace of baring teeth is actually an aggressive and challenging gesture. So dogs have had to overcome that by learning that humans and in their human families, baring teeth is not aggression. Baring teeth is actually, they've got to just learn to get along with it. So how many of you, I don't know, there must be many of you out there who have dogs that smile because they've learned how to show their pleasure to their human family, because body language is so important to them. It's the only way they can communicate. With their eyes, and by softening the eyes there's an acceptance and a relaxed sort of body language that is portrayed by it, as opposed to open-eyed staring. But we as humans, we don't do that kind of thing. So cats, domestic cats, have probably learned that looking at the cat open-eyed doesn't necessarily mean what it does to a wild cat. We can't really compare domestic cats' behavior to that of their wild counterparts. But whenever I've encountered cats, both on foot and in vehicles, in open vehicles where they've been right next to me, I'll make sure that I keep my eye on them. I'm watching them all the time, because it's their body language and their eyes and their ears. It's everything about their faces that tell me what their mood is and what their intention may perhaps be. And for me that's very important, because I have to know how to react, especially if I'm walking with clients, or I have people's safety in my hands. But I'll never stare an eye at a cat. If I look at a cat, I'll soften my eyes the way that I do with a domestic cat. And it's quite amazing that when you do it with a domestic cat, how they suddenly acknowledge the fact that you're doing something cat-like and not human-like. Softening the eyes, what I mean by that is sort of just not closing them completely, but just sort of dropping your eyelids comfortably. Excuse me, doves. Hi, Elvis.
What?
How are you in for?
Good, good.
Hey, long time no see. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. And compliments of the season. Good. Yeah. Yeah. We'll chat again. Bye. Yes, his name is Elvis, by the way. I guess his mama loved rock and roll. Elvis has left the road in search for something. Alex saying 50 bucks is not wearing blue suede shoes. Yeah, I don't think I'll take you on that one. So, the button on my toe. Do only buffalo have 4 stomachs? Or is it all of those that chew the cud? That's from Valerie, Pennsylvania. Hi Valerie. Thanks for the question. Oh, bachelor group of Impala. 2 that are having a little set to there. That's getting quite horn-clashingly serious. This is a pair of males that are probably trying to sort out a hierarchy issue amongst the bachelor herd. It's not that serious that they have to fight for females, because it's way into the lambing season. It's going to be some time before we get to the rutting season. But it's going to be important that by the time the rutting season rolls around, these boys, this bachelor herd, have a certain hierarchy that has established itself from being in a bachelor herd, and that then allows them to take control of a group of ewes a lot easier without having to resort to some serious fighting. Morning, morning. Good in you? Good. Let's see if they get back to it after this vehicle goes by. No, that other one, I think there's still a challenge going on. a little bit of displacement behavior that takes place when they are doing that, the scratching and the maybe, yeah, that sort of thing. Oh, it was a clash. This is fencing with two swords stuck to the top of your head. Sometimes these fights, especially in the rutting season, the fights can go on for quite some time because neither male wants to give way, and that's when there's a sort of equal strength, when they haven't quite decided who is more dominant, or one wants to sort of take the other one's place. Now if these fights do go on too long during the rut, you often find that some of the cats will target these rams that are fighting because they get so intent in their fight that they actually forget about what's going on around them, even though the rest of the bachelor herd might be sensing danger and might stop doing what they're doing. And I suppose it's one of the reasons why it's important to sort out the hierarchy in the next 5 months or so before the rut starts, because you don't really want to be spending too much time, too much energy fighting, because you've got to use so much energy just to keep all those, that harem, to keep those the ewes in one place, to fight off all the other rams that want to come in, to keep away the young rams that are going on 18 months who have left their moms and want to come back, or young rams that are going on maybe 2 years, 2.5 years, that also want to mate, but they can't go through the whole hierarchy. I'm going to roll forward, catch up with these two boys. Quite an interesting thing to see. We don't often get to see it out here in the open where there are not too many obstacles. Except one tiny little acacia. We're going to fight on the left of it or on the right of it. I don't know if it's my imagination, but the boy on the left looks like he's a little bit bigger bodied than the one on the right. See how they mirror the displacement behavior. One scratches, the other one scratches. Okay, I must still get back to that other question of Valerie's about ruminants and Josh wanting to know if male antelope use their horns to defend themselves from predators. They do, Josh, very much so. Some antelope have some very impressive horns for defending themselves. Although not always easy for one to do so. When impala are taken, say, for example, by a leopard, leopard know what the horns are about. So leopard's not going to jump on an impala's back. When a leopard strikes an impala, they're going to see this displacement behavior. They're practically mirroring each other. Leopard strikes, it gets underneath that throat as soon as it can. Same with cheetah, I guess, so to a large extent lion too. Get to grab the face with the mouth. But there are some antelope where, like the sable for example, with those curved horns, lion has to jump on the back to get it down. Oh, that hurt. Valerie was asking about buffalo being the only ones that have 4 stomachs. All the herbivores except, well, let's put it, all the bovids, all the grazers and browsers, except for zebra and some of the zebra, hippo, rhino, elephant. Pretty much everything else is a ruminant, what we call a ruminant. They all have 4-chambered stomachs. They all chew the cud. So all the antelope and the bovids, the buffalo, not the warthog. They're omnivorous, so they have a digestive system very much like ours, because we're supposed to be omnivorous. We aren't really supposed to be vegetarian. We don't have the stomach for digesting only vegetation. We do need other proteins and things. Oh, this is getting quite serious. The referee coming in now. I think he's a much bigger ram. Both of these rams are sort of giving him a little bit of a berth, giving him space. We'll see what this bigger boy does. He's coming in with a very dominant posture, and it looks like he's actually splitting this fight up. Another big ram coming in. Quite interesting. Okay, they're going to go back at it, and then we'll see what these other big rams do. You're picking up the sound of the horns. Once again, bigger ram approaching them, trying to split them up, I guess. Can attract attention, unnecessary attention. And it is a peaceful time of the year. With the lambs being born, there is no real need for serious fighting. Okay, let's move along. Like one of the bigger boys came in and broke up the fight. And I'd say just in time. It looked like it was getting a bit serious, too serious. Buffalo and wildebeest, if you have a look at the shape of the horns, this is for Josh's question about defense. That shape of those horns is specifically for defense, because that curve allows them to sweep their head from side to side. And I've known many a lion suffer very bad injuries as a result of being gored by buffalo or wildebeest. Not so much wildebeest as much by buffalo. Recently there was a lioness that was gored pretty badly up in the Timbavati. I'm not sure what's happened to her. I was living with a couple of prides of lion in East Africa a few years, well, a number of years ago. And the one pride started splitting up because two of the lionesses had very young cubs, and one of the lionesses, her cubs were almost sub-adult, and I suppose what was going to happen is that the youngsters, the sub-adults, were going to be moving on out of the pride, and so she was spending a lot of time on her own with her sub-adults. And the one day that the whole pride, there were about 19 of them, and the whole pride came together, they took down a buffalo, and she was gored in the thigh very, very badly. So badly, in fact, that when they finished that buffalo, the rest of the pride moved on and left her with her sub-adults at a certain sect in a certain area. And obviously the pain, and it was debilitating. Obviously it slowed her down. But they were being quite adept at hunting. They're sub-adults. The three of them were learning how to hunt together. They weren't doing too badly. I actually watched them hunt a zebra close to where their mother was lying, and made sure that she came in to feed on it. Anyways, it was a wonderful end to that story because she healed very well. I then moved on to another reserve or another national park, but before I did move on, she was doing very well. So were the sub-adults. They were spending more and more time away from her and hunting quite a lot on their own. Mostly zebra. Seemed like they had found a good way to catch zebra, and it was actually just lying in wait. Vast open marshland called gosh, I've forgotten the name now. This place is the Tarangire National Park. The animals come out of the woodland to these almost like marshlands or swamp areas. And then they, out in the open, they have to get back into the tree line, and the cats would just sort of lie in the tree line and wait for them, because things like zebra and a lot of the animals would walk on distinct pathways. Even if there was a lion killed there, they would still, a few days later, come along the same path. I can remember those sub-adults, one of their first zebra kills was I think it was around the time when Mom was injured, in fact. They went for a zebra and they missed, and they injured the zebra. Obviously they'd tried and failed, and the zebra had gotten away, but not without having some very severe claw marks. And it was uncanny how at one point the zebra knew where the lion were. The lion couldn't really make a go of the kill from where they were, because they were lying out in the swamp area, but it was dry at the time, and they would have had to have stood up and ran out into the open, and you can't really hunt that way because you have to hunt from cover. And this zebra just walked straight up to them and stopped in front of them. They jumped up, they pulled it down and proceeded to kill it. It was very weird, almost as though the zebra was just giving itself up. Franklin's complaining down here. So there was a Franklin that was complaining here for some reason. Not too loudly, maybe just a snake or a mongoose raiding nest, and they flew away. Billy Joe, morning to you. Tweeting a question. How often do we get to see rams sparring? And do they ever get locked? Yeah, they do actually. Billy Joe, they most certainly do. I've seen, we've had it actually here on quarantine once. We had 2 rams that somehow got locked up. It took quite a while, I think. I can't remember how long, but it took quite a while for them to part. There have been kudu that have been known to have died with locked horns because they weren't able to extract themselves. One of the most amazing things I've seen, though, was something I saw a couple of years ago in East Africa, in Tanzania, in the Ruaha National Park. Was the aftermath of two impala going at it was the one horn broke off in the other impala's neck. And this impala was walking around for a while with about 12-13 inches of horn sticking out of its neck, clearly embedded in the muscle, and luckily missed any of the vital arteries or veins, carotid or jugular. Pretty smelly down here, I guess, from all the buffalo over the hot days. Of course, this is nothing here today. Treehouse dam, there's no need to sit in the water. It's wet everywhere. We don't get to see it too often. Oh, big kudu bull. Sorry boy, I'll give you a bit of a fight. Yeah, this is one of the five. One of the boys we've been seeing. The one with the very narrow spread. There's another one. Oh, sorry. Trying to drive off the tree trunk. He was nicely framed. Just gonna try the radio. Ephraim, come in. Now, Ephraim, I'm not copying very well. Confirm there's something moving up Biffles cut line. Yeah, I copied. What's on Biffles cut line? Yeah, what's this microphone? Do I have to... You're not even watching it. Okay, just interrupted a little bit there by the radio, giving me an idea of somewhere to go. I'm sorry, little Steenbuck. Running away. Oh, wow. Kingfisher just dive bombed a starling. Could have seen that. Gigi, morning Gigi, Illinois. How are you, Gigi? There's impala just getting up. Nice little group of impala here. Morning, girls and boys. Gigi wants to know, with the weather being brisk, the weather being as it is, would this be better hunting weather for lion and leopard? Yeah, to a large extent it would be. mostly because they wouldn't be so energy conscious. The ground is soft. In a lot of places it can be very slippery. You'll find that the lion that specialize in large mammals, things like buffalo and giraffe, that are likely to use the conditions created by this weather to assist or to aid them in hunting. I've known lion to chase giraffe into very soft sandy or clay areas where they can easily slip. With the ground sometimes saturated with water like it is, it becomes very, very soft. Giraffe running, their hooves can stick in to the soft sand a lot deeper, slows them down. Even cheetah for that matter, because animals are likely to be out in the open on a day like this, whereas during hot weather you find the animals tend to move into the thicker cover. So on a day like today you might find the likes of impala on some of the open areas, and that just becomes a lot easier for the likes of cheetah to hunt. If there was a little bit of wind, it goes even further to aid the predators, because with a little bit of wind you get a lot of wind noise from the trees, from the bush, and that tends to dull the noise of a predator. The weather being wet makes the ground softer, makes it easier for things like leopard to stalk closer to prey. Twigs don't break and snap if they step on them, although they're very careful not to. Their foot placement when they're stalking is very, very careful. When you see a leopard placing its feet in mid-stalk when it's getting really, really close to striking, leopards are likely to, if they feel a stick, they'll feel around until there's no stick underneath their foot, rather than step on a stick. I can hear some parrots. There's a parrot. Parrot for Pepperbird and Arlene and other parrot lovers. That's the brown-headed parrot. I don't get to see them too often. They're very shy normally. And off he goes. Beautiful luminescent green body, the brown head. You don't really get to see the green until they open their wings, the green on the back. It did fly in here, but I don't know if it's going to let us see it again. There's another one in the dead tree somewhere. Unless they have a nest somewhere in this dead tree, it's also possible. Oh, there it just flew away. Sometimes only just see it as it flies, because they can't conceal themselves behind a branch. Making a noise. Closing the books in case we get a drizzle. It's getting a little bit darker again. Came round this bend, it's very slippery here. Came round this bend one day and it was wet like this. Big elephant bull came running at us and he actually slipped over here. There's a lovely clip of that. He slipped down in this mud, trying to stop his... It wasn't really a chop, he was just I don't know, reacting to our sudden appearance. And he wanted to just take a few steps towards us and flare his ears and say go away or stop. And he had to recover very quickly. I'm sure he felt a little embarrassed. I'm wondering if anybody remember that. I think it was Tara and myself on the vehicle that time. All sorts of memories on every road that we travel, places on each road. Memories of some wonderful things. And let's hope we can add to those memories in the next few weeks. We already have had some wonderful times with these two youngsters of Karula, Djuma and Quarantine Male, Q Male, QM, Q Male, Q. Let's go to Gari Dam, I think. Foul with him. Yeah, it's quite amazing how these animals live alone most of their lives. Oh, not today, Henry. Not tonight, Josephine. Oh, he's just coming to check whether we're a threat. And off he goes. I suppose he thought maybe we were interested as well. And he's chasing after her again. It's always amazing how they live their lives alone in this bush. They can barely see above the grasses. And yet when the time comes for them to find someone, they do. Can you see them, or is it too close? So sad. Or sick. That's the black cuckoo. Maybe it's glad. Yeah, I'm so glad to see tortoises. And off they went into the sunset. Sunrise. Into the green yonder. Oh, where he's off to. Okay, let's leave them be. Maybe we're intimidating them. Bye-bye, tortoises. Have a lovely honeymoon. Ideal conditions for tortoises right now. especially when it comes to laying eggs. The ground is soft, it's going to be perfect for it. Hello impala, a lot of impala out here in the open above Djuma waterhole, Gurry Dam. Hello Virginia and Kentucky. Virginia is a query about leopard territories. There's this impala running around in front of the camera there. Pardidar ibises flying away, the impala chased them. Hello everybody, anybody? Oh, there goes the heron. How big is a leopard's territory compared to a lion's territory? Hello heron, grey heron. Fishing. They do catch birds too. Eat baby ducks. There are 7 goslings there. I'm sure you can see them in front of the camera. I don't see the parent. I'm sure they're there. Leopard's territory probably about a 10th the size of a lion's territory. Well, it kind of depends. Sorry, I was listening to the radio. When I get quiet like that, it's because there's stuff happening in my ear that I like to keep track of. Leopard's territory, being a solitary cat and having generally a smaller prey base than lion, have a much smaller territory than lion. Naturally, lion living in big prides need a lot more territory to roam in. But the size of those the sizes of those territories depend very largely on the topography, the climate, the rainfall, and that dictates the vegetation. The vegetation dictates the density of the prey species. I'm just looking at an eagle up here. That's a Wahlberg's. I'm going to have to hopefully stay there. Hopefully we can get past it and turn around and look back on it. Looks like a slightly pale phased Wahlberg. Phased, not faced. Pale phase and dark phase. P-H-A-S-E. Or morph is another word. Color morph. M-O-R-P-H. What noise. This weather does force a lot of raptors to be perched. There are no thermals, and with feathers are wet, wings are wet, it takes a lot of energy to stay in the air. So for a lot of the raptors, they'll remain perched until things might warm up later. secreting oils from glands, rubbing oil, very essential oils over its feathers with its gape, I think. Helps with waterproofing. A lot of birds do that, especially the aquatic birds. Maybe not oils, but secretions that help keep feathers in good condition, as well as try and avoid the number of mites and parasites on the feathers. We're going to move along. I wonder where we should move along to. Maybe stay on Central Road, actually. Might be an idea. I think just to finalize that last question before I was interrupted by the eagle, question about leopard and lion territories. So the density of the prey, the density of the vegetation, and the amount of prey species that an area is able to hold has a large impact on the populations of predators. And then there are some areas where I guess leopard's territories, or rather there might be more leopard than lions, so leopard's territories will be a lot smaller than usual, like over here. But generally speaking, and just to answer the question itself, was that lion and leopard, lion can be up to 10 times even more larger than the leopard's territory, which then means that you'll always find a number of leopard within a lion's territory. Places like the Kalahari, which is desert, semi-desert, very vast areas. Lion's territory is probably 10 times bigger than the lion's territory here. So you'll find that leopard's territories will also be a lot larger in a place like that. Wildlife is more spread out. So the ratio will be different. So it's not a fixed thing. Liv, I think lives in Brooklyn. Are you still in Brooklyn? Brooklyn. Liv. And Liv is asking questions that sometimes comes through. You're stuck out in the middle of the bush. What do you eat to survive? Well, in a place like this, Liv, you wouldn't really be stuck. Yeah, there many places within walking distance. There are a number of ways to find your way to a lodge. One wouldn't spend that many days without finding some sign of humans. You just have to follow roads, really. Knowing which direction to follow roads is a different story, though. But I suppose if you had a very vast area of Africa, obviously a local knowledge makes a big difference. Local knowledge is something that will help you identify plant species that you can eat, fruit to be able to eat. It would be a different matter if you were totally green, you didn't know anything, you wouldn't know whether something is edible or not. And now, this time of the year, there are a bunch of things that can be eaten. If you had basic bark, tree bark, out of bark, tree bark, be able to put something together to be able to catch an animal. There is latex from some of the euphorbias that can be used for catching fish or birds. Even mistletoe, the seeds of mistletoe, very sticky. Use that gum to catch birds, coat a branch with it, and hopefully have a bird sit there. It was a method of catching birds a long time ago, as far as I'm aware. I've never tried it, never seen it work, I've never known whether it's just a myth. I'm headed in a different direction. I'm heading way up to the northeast. To get to the airstrip, we'd have to go down to the southwest. So it's sort of one of the opposite corners. It is the opposite corner. So we're not going to get there this morning. Maybe this afternoon. Maybe we'll make a plan to get there this afternoon. I'm looking at this area because I'm interested in roads that haven't been driven by anyone this morning. Now that is interesting. A couple of raptors. I hope we're going to get to see them. They're preening. These could be a merfalcon. This is going to be interesting for any of the birders. A dead tree up ahead. 3 small accipiters from the family. Oh, one's flown. The others are going to fly very quickly. The family Accipitridae, falconiforms, and they are, I think, very bright sky behind them, but this one looking dark enough with the red beak could be, very well be, 3 little merfalcon. Used to be known as the eastern red-footed kestrel, but they are falcos. I think they are falcon family, which is why their name is now the merfalcon. Let's find the Rept book. The Raptors of Africa and its islands. Birds of Prey of Africa and its islands. This is by Alan and Meg Kemp. Now we're going to the purple. Harriers, sparrowhawks, goshawks, Eleanor's falcon, red-footed falcon, peregrine falcon, red-necked falcon, tater falcon. There, the merfalcon. Got one sitting lower now. I think that one at the bottom there is the adult male because he's fairly dark, and that one at the top there, you can see she's got a little bit of a mask. If you can come to my book, I'll show you what they look like. Normally in flocks, I mean these birds, oh, they've just flown. I've seen flocks of hundreds and hundreds of them. So these are all the different color forms. Here on the far left we have the adult male, and then the adult female and then the juvenile. These are drawings, but there is a photograph here of an adult female. I could see a little bit of the mask on the one at the top of the tree, and the one lower down was definitely the male, much darker with the very red beak, red feet. Here on the left, a little bit to the left, photograph of the male merfalcon, who we've just seen. Now sadly, they are being hunted to extinction. You know, whenever you get animals, so sadly this is the thing with humans. We've seen it with so many species in the past where they've almost been wiped out because humans just shoot them indiscriminately, thinking that there's so many of them that they'll never run out. But we've seen the likes of a number of species that have been shot to either extinction or virtual extinction. The merfalcons have to come in from the Middle East. They have to fly through a corridor and a gauntlet of Middle East countries who feel nothing about blasting them out of the sky. And so the flocks of thousands from when I was a child turned into flocks of hundreds a few years ago, and now flocks of dozens only. Very, very sad for a very beautiful bird that has to fly the length of Africa to its summer grounds here in South Africa, part of Middle East and Eastern Europe. Question from Texas. Nice mushrooms. Kathy, hello Kathy. Kathy in El Paso. El Paso's in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Are there veterinarians? Are there vets in the park that help injured big cats? Yes, there are vets, Kathy. There are a couple of important vets in the park, mostly dealing with translocations of animals and the like. Excuse me, just listening to the radio. Mostly, there are only a couple of vets for the millions and millions of acres that the park covers, and 99% of the time animals that are injured or have something wrong are left, well, most of the time we don't even know, because we only see a tiny fraction of the animals, and the road network that covers the park with people driving on them covers barely 6% of the park. So there are vast areas of wildlife where humans don't even get to see the animals, so we wouldn't even know if animals are injured. It's not like you can monitor every single animal. There are thousands and thousands of animals. Pardon? I can't, there's so much noise in my ear, I can't hear a thing. Sorry, what's that?
I think there's holly in that.
Holly?
Holly.
Oh, mistletoe. Yeah, holly's also at Christmas.
Yeah, the same.
Yeah. Oh yes, you can see the dark. There's quite a lot of mistletoe in. There's even one in flower here. Jason's just pointing out some mistletoe in these marulas. Just try and zoom in on that, and see if we can see some of the flowers. Almost, they're like long tubular flowers. I've forgotten where I was before I stopped for the mistletoe. Do you remember what I was saying? Oh yes, thanks Alex, yes, about veterinarians. There are times when vets do interfere, there are times when the vets do help animals, and most of the time it would have to be an injury like a snare where the animal is darted and treated and the snare removed. Usually it's around the foot or the neck, and often the injury is assessed to see whether the animal will recover, and very often they do. Even snares that have sadly caused a lot of damage, cut deep into the skin, animals are treated. Sometimes stitches or wounds are stitched up. Invariably they're given some antibiotics and maybe anti-inflammatories, but animals are very resilient and they do heal. And very, very often animals that might have the kind of injury that to us looks exceptionally painful or excessively gross, sometimes those animals recover very, very well. But I also have to say that actually just stop there. If you look at the middle of your picture, you can see that the top of those marula trees is a little bit overexposed, but it's because it's no, I can't really see it so well. When it's overexposed a bit, you can see the darker patches in that marula tree in the background, and those darker patches are mistletoe. And when you go when you close the iris a little bit, you get sort of getting the green back of the marula. It's not as easy to notice them, but there's two very dark patches deep in those marula trees. Also, it's important to have veterinary vets on standby for research purposes, for helping dart animals for research purposes, to put collars on them. But you have to understand that with wild animals, first of all, you can't look after every single animal, and this is nature as it has been for millions of years. This is the only interference here is that roads have been put in, and in some places, white-crowned shrikes. That's a lot of noise in there. That might be. There's the rest of the family. Might be a nest in there. Flown off. I heard that Scott found a white-crowned shrike nest. I wonder where that was. There's a family here. That noise is the kind of noise it makes around the nesting site. Distracted again. Yes. Vets. You got to understand that animals, especially when you look at predators that are getting old and losing condition and their teeth are wearing down, like a big old male lion or an old leopard that are starting to get a little bit arthritic and not able to hunt that well. Those animals depend on other animals that are injured or sick or slow. And so it's I suppose it's important from that aspect that we don't interfere too much, because everything in nature has to take its own course. Animals have to be taken out of the gene pool from time to time, and it has to be done by predators. It's got to be a natural process. So while it's very, very hard sometimes to observe injured animals, and I have had to do that in the past, it's heartbreaking to have to accept that an animal that is injured by whatever natural cause it was, it's important to be able to have the temerity to stand back, to have the strength to see it with the head and not from the heart. This is not easy, and I know for a lot of you out there, sometimes unfortunately we see an animal that is injured and it tugs at the heartstrings of everybody who's watching, because we are all passionate about animals and wildlife. Another important factor here is that the process that is needed to assist an animal is far more detrimental sometimes than the injury itself. And that sometimes by having to dart an animal and put it through the trauma of treatment and handling it and disturbing it, can put it through a stressful time that can actually kill it and actually cause more damage to it. Because let's face it, if an animal is injured, the body needs all of its strength to be able to help that animal get it through that injury. And if we were to dart them all the time, that is just adding stress to the animal, adding stress to a body that needs more energy in the healing process. So often it is summed up as to whether it is in the animal's best interests to leave it alone. And it might not sound like it, but it very, very much so it is. Okay, I need to talk on the radio. Stop up there on the boundary. I don't know how far. I need to have a look at a map, not because I need to know where I'm going. I need to know where something is coming from. I need to know how far in Torchwood something is, because it might be coming this way. Yes. But also was cut by tractors for fire break. This is a fire break. Get burnt just about every year. Right. Nothing yet. Northeast of England. Okay. Bernie for Mark. Not going to get it on this map. Bernie for Mark. I'm just waiting for a chance to talk on the radio, folks. There's just a lot of chatter. I need to find something out, because there was something coming down this way. I don't know how far in it is. This is our extreme most northeasternmost corner, and the only station still with that lock on Biffles or cut line, and this radio doesn't work very well. You go, Bernie? Yeah, about 1 out of 5 I can more or less get you. How far are you from Cheetah Cut Line? They're heading north somewhere. Okay, could I get someone relay that message from Bernie, please? don't know why this is cutting out every time I've transferred. They're not on this road anymore, they have headed northwest. There were 2 cheetah coming down this road and I was going to make it. I was hoping that it would be a nice surprise to be able to find them walking this way, but unfortunately they seem to have moved up. I need to also take off a layer. It's starting, this cloud is lifting, it's starting to warm up considerably. I need to get some of these layers off. One of these days, cheetah will come across it this way, or we'll have them walking on this road. I'm just going to take a layer off. Excuse me a sec. Turning into a really lovely morning from the rain that we drove through to get here to now. Quite promising. A bit dodgy with the signal, so much better to go up there in clear weather. Yeah, when we get the other vehicle back, and we've got 2 vehicles, we can spend more time on Arathusa because we can always cut back to the other vehicle if we lose our signal. For now, with only the 1 vehicle, we're trying to maintain signal all the time because we need to give you as much airtime as we can. Big bulky feet wouldn't really do it very well when it's running at high speed, so it's got much smaller feet. Even though it stands taller than a leopard, it has much smaller feet than a leopard, so it's much narrower. There's also a slightly pointed shape to the foot. Another most important thing is that a cheetah, although it's a cat, does not have retractable claws. It has protractile claws. The claws are fixed. It is able to extend the claws, but the claws are fixed in an out position like a dog, and so it can give the cheetah a lot of grip, almost like the spikes on a runner's shoes. Help give it grip at high speed running through grassland, wherever it's running. So that's one of the differences between cheetah and leopard. Hello birds. Lots of kingfishers making a claim for territory. The other thing that one has to look at that may be confusing, because you can't really confuse leopard and cheetah because of the claws and the pointedness, the pointed shape to the front of the foot. But the other thing that is important to look at is that cheetah will look very much like a dog's tracks. A medium-sized dog, like slightly bigger than maybe a wild dog, a little bit smaller than a hyena, but a small hyena would be about the same as a cheetah. But what is most important about the difference between the cats and the dogs is the shape at the back of the pad, which would be, I suppose, the equivalent of the heel of our palm. And in the cats there's a W, like a 3-lobed 3 lobes at the back of a cat track as opposed to the 2 lobes of a hyena or a dog track. So where you might find the claws on the cheetah, you've got to look for the back of the track to see that you have those 3 little lobes at the back of the track. And I'll pull out a book shortly when we stop. We're going to stop and have a look around Buffelshoek Dam. Not that we're likely to find much coming to the dam, but just because, who knows, might be an interesting bird or two, or a leopard, or a lion, or a polar bear. Oh, could have got a nice shot of that roller. Anyways, I think I've got a book of tracks in the car, in the box of books. It will, and I'll find you the 2 different tracks. Easier to do that in the book, and then of course one day maybe if we see the actual tracks. But it's nice to compare it. It's no good showing you cheetah track one day and then a leopard track another day, unless you take a screenshot of it. If it's a really distinct track, clear and easily defined. Yeah, there's a hippo. Or 2 maybe. Egyptian geese with no babies. Oh, yellow-bill stork, but it's gone around the corner. So let me see. I don't know if I do have a track book. Mushrooms. Birds and birds. Ah, here we go. I'm going to see if I can find it in the book for you while you're looking at this hippo. Not that it's a very active hippo, but hippos do sleep during the day. So, hyena track and dog track versus cat track, leopard track versus lion track. Here we go, versus cheetah, lion, leopard, and where am I going to find cheetah? Okay, so let's do some book work quickly. This is a book by Chris and Tilda Stewart called Tracks and Signs, and square it off. Right, here we have the two of the large cats, lion on the left, leopard on the right, but very importantly what I'm referring to are these 3 lobes at the back of a cat track. You can see with the lion as well. With the leopard you can draw a straight line through that all 3 will touch. With the lion the inner lobe is indented more than the leopard. But here just a slight comparison between the 2. When you can draw a circle around a leopard's track, you can draw an egg shape around a lion's track. But very importantly, no claws at the tip of the toes and the 3 lobes at the back. Now if we go to the hyena, very distinct claw marks. I see I need to get the glare off of the book, move it a little bit forward. Very distinct claws at the top. The toes are also very distinctly shaped in the hyena, but I'm just going to move over to the 3 here that are important, because Here we have the wild dog on the left, a large domestic dog. That's actually a Labrador, the size of your average Labrador, and then the cheetah on the right. So very distinctly, the claws showing quite clearly in these, but most importantly for the cat, the 3 lobes at the back, and for the dog there's only sort of 2 at the back. So that's front foot and hind foot of cheetah. Right front, right hind, right front, right hind of the wild dog. If we have a look at the cheetah, if you took the claws away, would be very, very close to a leopard's tracks. The toes are a lot further apart from the actual pad itself, but you don't really notice that so much. Remember that every type of substrate gives off a different impression, and then if an animal is walking or if it's running, the toes can be splayed a lot more. So it's not really that much of a diagnostic thing, depending the toe distance to the pad. What's most important are the claw marks of the cheetah. But not to say that everything with a claw is a cheetah, because you've got wild dog and hyena. Fortunately, no domestic dogs running around. Bye bye, hippo. Sweet dreams. Right, where shall we go? Yes, let's go this way to Warripan. Time for a flower. There's a flower. Normally a mauve color. This is somewhat faded. This is the Solanum. You can see it's aubergine potato family, belonging to the deadly nightshade or poison apple. And yes, that is poisonous. The seeds, I believe, can be an hallucinogenic of the fruit. The fruit looks like a little tomato, like a little cherry tomato, but it never gets red. It ripens sort of yellow with green stripes on it, similar to the typical watermelon type of color. But it's very small, like a little cherry tomato. Hippo tracks heading out. Many teenagers hospitalized and actually have died from experimenting with those seeds. Not a good thing to do anything drug related. Nature has some very strong alkaloids that can kill a human very quickly. Looks like this hippo was walking here recently, after the rain this morning. You often find hippo will be out of the water in weather like this, for grazing if they pay my mind to it. Sometimes you'll find even in the winter months when it gets very dry they need to supplement some of their grazing with daytime grazing. Their nighttime grazing is insufficient. A lot of crinums around here that will be flowering soon, I hope, if they haven't already. Some of the lilies, you see their leaves. And this rain, if we get the right amount of rain and sunshine, they'll burst into bloom. Fortunately though, one downside to this rain is it washed away tracks. I don't even know where those lion would have gotten to after we left them on this road, Drakensberg, 2 nights ago. At the moment only hippo tracks, fresh tracks from this morning. I'm going to go back to the corner, that northeastern corner, just in case those other 2 cats decided to make their way back here. I'd hate to miss out on them and find out later that they did come this way. Sorry, Dove. Three little birds flying ahead of us. If we can get a little bit closer to them. Our cinnamon-breasted buntings. One more, gonna fly away. old line track, but it's not old as in days old, it's hours old. It's been rained on. We need to go back down south. Don't know if it's the same line they found somewhere on Torchwood here. Could be. They haven't said which line they are. But this could be the timber mail that we saw the other day. I only saw one track, been virtually flattened by the rain. But deep enough sand that it's held its shape. I don't think we're going to have any luck, because I've just heard on the radio now that the cheetah are lullapinesy, which means they're lying down somewhere. They've stopped moving, whether it was to the northwest or wherever it was, where they'd been moving earlier this morning. But there was a report that they were heading towards this corner about half an hour ago. And that's why we slowly made our way here. However, it's not going to be light is changing. Patches of the cloud where the sun's trying to get through, and then patches of dark. So it changes a little bit the settings on the iris. But this is, I think this is where I saw that track. Yep, big male lion. Would have been last night sometime, heading back south down this road. It would be nice if he decided to just lie down somewhere. Find him lying down. Har har. He was running here. Some deeper tracks there that have also held through the rain. I guess he was even running, he was even moving while it was raining. That could have been this morning. There have been a couple of vehicles that have driven here, so tortoise again. I thought I saw a tortoise. Guess I was wrong. Clump of grass. From coming. From coming. From what's that block of those compound trees? Okay, they're not on the cut line anymore. We've just been sworn at by a lilac-breasted roller. Screamed at us driving underneath its tree. Yeah, so those cheetah are now on Buffles, sadly. And these lion tracks. Alex is mentioning that some people are inquiring about the Jigger, the other vehicle. Well, unfortunately, all the businesses in the area are closed, and some of them till Monday, some of them till the New Year. The place where the Jigger went is closed until Monday. We will only know more on Monday when she will be back. They did fix one issue, but then there's still an underlying problem that they need to look at. So unfortunately, Jigger will only know Monday. No, I didn't. Sorry, Alex. I had you turned down. Now I've got to switch microphones to talk to Alex. Yeah.
How big the property we have is, how big the reserve we are on. It's
Jan wanting to Jan, not depending on what country it is. If it's South Africa, we would refer to that name as Jan, which is a man's name. But it could be Jan if it's overseas. And the lady by the name of Jan. Not too sure. Wanting to know how big the park or reserve is. Well, the whole Greater Kruger National Park is probably well over 5 million. Oh, there's a broad-tailed paradise wider in the road. Saw him in the grasses. And there he goes again. Got to dive into the grasses so that he doesn't damage his tail. The Greater Kruger National Park is probably, if we're talking of hectares, at least 2.5 million hectares, which I guess translates into about 7 million acres roughly, and that's not counting the mirrored park on the Mozambique side, which is a trans-frontier park, which adds another few million acres, although it's not that well utilized by game yet because there've been way too much civil war in Mozambique over the years, and there's still a lot of human settlements in the park, so there's human-animal conflict there. So it's hard to really understand, or hard to know which area you're referring to, Jan. Whether it's the Greater Kruger National Park, which is the size of the area that the animals move in. Then, oh, they're sitting in a tree, a beautiful bird, the paradise wider. Oh, and off it goes again. Oh, it's gone. It's gone. Then, within the Kruger National Park, on the western boundary of the Kruger National Park, you get a number of private reserves. Oh, zebra tracks. The Sabi Sand Game Reserve is one private reserve. There's another one called the Timbavati. There's another one called Klaseri. Even Manyaleti, although it's not a private reserve, it's a provincial reserve, is part of the Kruger National Park. So there are a lot of private reserves within the Kruger National Park that border the Kruger National Park. They've been incorporated into the Kruger National Park for a greater movement of animals, but the humans are not allowed to move from one to the other. There are no connecting roads between the Sabi Sand and the Kruger National Park, or the Timbavati and the Kruger National Park. So that while animals can move, humans are restricted to the park that they're in. Then within those parks, within the private reserves, there are privately owned properties that comprise the park. So for example, on the left of this little road we're on, that is one property owned by a landowner. To the right is the property known as Gari, owned by Yuri Mulman. This is his property, and this is a dividing line between the two properties. So the area that we have to drive on, and the area that we have to cover, is a 1,000 hectare or maybe 2.2 thousand acre little piece of land in the middle of a 56, 58, maybe 60,000 hectare park that is the Sabi Sand Game Reserve, and that is part of these millions of hectares of the Kruger National Park. These are areas that are vast, open wilderness, sometimes wilderness areas. Can't call an area with a road a wilderness area, but wildlife areas where there's greater movement of wildlife, but there is very limited movement by humans, and you have to either have permission or you pay for traversing on other properties within the reserve that you're in. It can be very confusing. If it is still confusing, do let me know. So I wonder, see if there's any the hippo tracks crossing over, and okay, can maybe look at those hippo tracks. We need to see if the lion tracks are here crossing over. There they are. So he crossed, he went that way, but there's a nice squishy hippo track, very big. I should go and put my hand in it to give you an idea of size. Are you on this one?
All three.
All three?
Yeah, I'll zoom in on one if you want.
Just pointing out the 4 toes of the hippo track for you. And now I've got a muddy finger. Give me your jacket. Wipe it on, shame. Can't do that. It's only mud. So we lost the hippo and we lost the lion at this exact point. Oh! Oh. Left my footprint in the hippo's footprint. I get a kick out of standing in the same spot that other animals stand in, and one of the best is, of course, the elephant. From a very, very young age, when my feet were very, very small, from about a 5-6-year-old, jumping from elephant print, or maybe 7. Also lion prints. Done that with lion prints as well. There's a creeper in that tree, but we wouldn't have been able to see its flowers because they're on the other side. See if I can find another one, because if that one's flowering, there will be others flowering. That was one of the cucumber families, one of the cucurbitaceae, cucumis, calabash family.
What is that?
This is civet. That was mongoose back there. The very point there with the very pointy toes. White-tailed mongoose probably. Very long claws. Oh, I love this, just the air, the smell, the freshness. I think I missed about 20 years of this beautiful smell of freshness and growth and life. as being a smoker for a long time and having stopped was 11.5 years now. Sad how much I missed of that, because you do miss it if you're a smoker. Let's do Twin Dams Road, I think. I don't know how very unexpected. Did you know that Mercedes was one forgets that it's an accident and people drive. There's a deep calling earlier there. Bird that sings its own name. Rex. Rex cuckoo. Well, not much animal movement, judging by the lack of tracks. Jacobin cuckoo calling. Third time I've seen zebra tracks without the zebra. I wonder where they're hiding. That's quite fresh zebra tracks, but it was going the other way. Some stage today we're going to need to find these zebra. Giant leadwood. Giant buffalo for the head. It can be like driving on the railway line with no hands driving, because there's a rut where the tires move through the sand. So as long as you keep your momentum and just lightly touch the accelerator, the vehicle will drive itself in soft sand like this. Lets me look around a little bit more. Don't have to worry about my hand following my eyes as it does sometimes when I wander around the road. I remember that buffalo thorn coming down. I remember an elephant pushing it. I was sitting there watching him. It's still alive, that buffalo thorn. Question: has Jason ever fallen off the vehicle while manning the camera? Not yet.
Yeah, a bit close now.
It says he's been close. Oh, you can probably hear him. So this is zebra coming out here. That must be the same zebra we saw going back into the riverbed where we went in. The same zebra that I saw heading down past Twin Dam. Zebra tracks, I mean, not them. I haven't lost a camera person yet. We nearly lost Caroline once. I think Tara was driving. There was a hole covered with grass. Couldn't see the hole. I don't think Caroline was. Was Caroline? Wasn't concentrating. This is the wheel lug spot, everybody. For those who remember, there was a wheel lug when we changed the tyre here one day, Tara and myself. Or we call it a wheel nut. I became the wheel nut that day because I lost one of them. It just upped and disappeared. While we were changing the tyre. Buffalo came through, heading towards Chelapan. I'm sure they might be there. Okay, thanks. Big hello to Dave in the UK. Dave from my old hometown. Hi Dave. And hope you're doing okay. I know you've had a hard time recently. Been over in Thailand, I think, with family. And just to know that, thinking of you, Dave. Do some birding later, maybe. Merry Christmas too. Oh, Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope you all had a wonderful day. Christmas Day. All over now. For the next year. Till next year. Nobody in the mud. So I think temperatures will warm up by this afternoon. I think it's quite normal for a morning like this after rain, after a very hot day the previous day, after having had a high pressure system move through, and then now this low pressure cold front that has come in, brought with it some rain, very damp and wet conditions. Generally it does make a difference to game viewing, harder to find the animals. So with it warming up a little bit, you can feel it already. It's also going to increase the humidity, I'm sure, because there's a lot of water around, and maybe it'll have an impact on our game viewing this afternoon. I've done a fair amount of road work this morning, covering a number of different roads. There are still probably going to be... Oh, hello girls. Yeah, you see, if they don't get up, this is what animals are doing. And very lucky to see them because they're close to the road, but most animals, legs tucked in, chewing the cud, just getting through this cooler temperatures of the early morning after the rain, and no doubt be moving around a little bit. Thank you for joining me this morning. My name is Mark. You've been with us here at Djuma Game Reserve on Wild Earth and Nat Geo Wild. Hashtag Safari Live, and we'll see you this afternoon. Thanks from Jason and Alex back in FC, from all of us in fact. Do join us again later. Love you lots. Goodbye.